Okay, I'll just move on.
Okay. Hello, and welcome. You are officially at the very first live that I'm hosting on Women for the Culture. My name is Elle. I go by Brief by Elle online. If you don't know, now you do. I talk a lot of mess, okay, right? But very much like India Ari, don't get offended. This is all my opinion. Ain't nothing that I'm saying. Look, right? That goes for me. But when I bring the guest up, you might want to listen because your legal bestie definitely knows a thing or two about what is and what isn't legal. If you have been following me and you came over here because you know me, hey girl, hey, right? If not, let me just give you a little bit of background. I have been on Mr. Sean Puffy Puff Daddy P Diddy Diddy Brother Love Love Combs earth since the moment the doc dropped because honestly, I never saw it for him. Honestly, when I got started with the content, somebody asked me on a podcast, "What if Revolt called you?" And I said, "Nobody called." That man is not well. He's been unwell from the beginning. I know that you should have known that. But the documentary confirmed some of that. So today, I am here with my legal bestie, attorney Simone Redwine. We broke down the Little Rod lawsuit when it came out in its entirety. You would have to go back to my YouTube page, Brief by Elle, to go find it because we aren't going to recap all of that. We've got so much, right? Like, who knew that Diddy was going to be in his gator boots and pimp out Gucci suit because everything is in his mama's name? Also, according to Gene Deal on the Art of the Dialogue, there is a Birdman Misa connection. But again, he like to hit women, so I'm gonna mind my business. Amen. Amen. Without further ado, I present to you your legal bestie, Miss Attorney Simone Redwine.
Hey, y'all. Hey, so happy to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. You always say yes, and I love that energy. You're always down the chat, and you've had your foot on Diddy's neck from the beginning as
I
well.
have.
Um, I didn't introduce my one missing nail, but some of y'all have been like, girl, go get your nails done. Okay. My nail tech, best nail tech in Jersey, has COVID. All right. She not taking no clients. I don't
Oh,
want that. You don't need that. So we are going to be nailless until December 2nd. But don't worry. Okay. The check is there.
there you go.
Simone, first of all, hi girl. What's going on? How you
Hey,
been?
girl.
What's tea?
Good, girl. My health has just been giving me the 1-2-1-2 punch. So I'm getting my voice back. So excuse that. But I spent last week watching the documentary in the entirety. I think I actually watched it all in one night because I was like, hold up, wait a minute. There's a lot that I was expecting to be addressed that wasn't addressed. I've spoken off the record to a plethora of the victims. And so I was thinking some more of that. But apparently, the amount that they were paying victims for certain, bits of tea, I'll say, for some of those victims, it just wasn't worth it. And instead of, sliding it over to the producers that are working with 50 Cent, they said, we're just going to present our evidence in the court of law. So remember, we got 77 pending civil cases where more tea will continue to be dropped.
Thank you guys. I heard you in the comments. I made an adjustment. Let me know what you think about that. Simone, what are your thoughts on people being paid for documentaries? Like, do you think that Kirk and Gene Deal, who was not in it, but who said that he wasn't because they didn't pay him, do you think that they should be paid for their story? Like, where do you stand on that?
No, I like the concept of not paying for your story, but you can be paid for your time. You get a per diem, you get flued out, you'll get your flight paid for. It could even be a first class flight. Nothing wrong with that. And for women, you better pay for my makeup to get did and my nails to get did. That's just common courtesy. You know what I'm saying? You don't want me coming up on there in my bonnet, do you?
Because that's how I'm going to be if you don't like what. But my
And you have
question
to
is,
remember these victims, for the most part, not the Gene Deals who's like turned it into a YouTube channel, but these victims a lot of them can't work regular jobs anymore. They're dealing with their PTSD and a plethora of other things, but they're hurting financially. You don't get an advance on a settlement that never may come. As an attorney, I can attest to that. So I don't think there's anything wrong with you being paid for appearing, but it should not be more beneficial for you to tell a lie than it is for you to tell the truth.
Oh, for sure. Are there can there be worked into contracts? Like this is the number one documentary on Netflix right now, right? And
Right.
that would not be without the participants' version of the story. So is there any sort of like kickback after the fact? Is if this happens or if we reach this certain number of streams, then maybe there's a level of
Yes.
compensation?
Yeah, that can be. But what you want, you got to be careful because you got to remember these people still have pending civil lawsuits. Not all of them, but some of them. And so you don't want to give the defense an argument when you finally do go to trial in your civil case to say, like in the Diddy Cassie component of the criminal trial, a large part of the reason the jurors felt like there's no crime here is they felt she's already been compensated more than
Mm.
enough with the 30 million. So you don't want when it's come time for your trial for them to say, "Oh, well Netflix gave her 250,000 to go be on that one." So your jury case closed. She's been compensated. She don't need any more.
That's an interesting point. So
Yeah.
the last time we chatted Diddy, right? We spoke about y'all, today's not the day, okay? You would have to use your pop culture memory brain. I'm not giving you the clips. But we pulled up when Mace and Diddy had their very, very short-lived beef, I want to say around 2021.
Mhm. Okay.
Past the at that point, that's Mace had not been on the internet. This is pre-podcast. We had not seen Mace in a minute, okay?
Mhm, mhm.
Pastor went and put them grills in his mouth. He put his Timbs on, had the fur hood, went back
Baby.
to Harlem, made a video, and basically said, "Did he get up off of me?" Okay, because I'm one of the few people that know that everything is in your mama's name. I'm not shooting shots at you. I will be coming at Janice. This is not a problem that you want, and that problem went away. That became speculation and internet fodder of everything's in Janice's name. And, we had conversations off record, but this documentary confirmed when Bad
Sure
Boy
did.
was started, Diddy put 75% in Janice's name and put 25% in Kirk's name. I want to start at the top. What is the legal benefit of doing that, if any, or did he just know he was a menace?
I'm gonna tell you what he thinks it is, and I'm gonna tell you what it's finna be. Okay, that's why I'm your legal bestie, y'all. I talk to you like we're drunk at brunch. You're drunk, I'm not, because I need to keep it together a little bit enough to tell you the law.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit of law. This is like he thinks this is like a ghetto trust. You know how a trust is you put everything in it, and then if someone were to sue you legally, they couldn't get anything because it's in trust. Janice's wig and everything, that is not going to be a legitimized or legally recognized ghetto hood rich trust of any sort. See, under the law, that is more so going to be viewed at what we call is an illegal transfer. Okay, an unlawful transfer, which is a transfer solely created for the purposes of avoiding legal financial liability. Ain't gonna work. It won't work because we see what you're doing. And here's how it would be proven in the court of law or the arguments that would be made. So if you're Gloria Allred, who represents some of the victims, when it's time to pay up and he either says, "Oh, I got to file bankruptcy," or "I ain't got it," you say, "It's okay, Janice and her wig do." And what will happen is you will then subpoena his records and the books for the business. And what you will likely see is that the business pays a lot of Diddy's personal bills and expenses. And then a check is cut annually, semi-annually. It could even be a check that's cut like every 2 weeks, like a paycheck to Miss Janice. Well, we all know Miss Janice ain't no type of employee of nothing. Look at her. She looked like a harlot that's just running the world's best, lady of the night house, that type of thing. And so what you'll see, so basically with an illegal transfer, a fraudulent transfer, correction is what it's called. For a fraudulent transfer, it's just simply a claim that you'd add after you've won a case and you're just trying to collect, where you say, "Hey, Your Honor, they're just using this corporation over here. It's not actually doing what it says. When was the last time you seen Janice in a bad boy meeting? I'll wait. When was the last time you saw her in a Ciroc meeting? I'll wait again. Okay. I'm keep waiting." It's a way for him to give his mom an allowance and be able to avoid liability. And it's not going to work. And it hasn't worked in the past.
It's not going to work. One clarification that I want to make, because I got this a lot in my comments. I recapped every episode. For those who don't know, I recapped every episode in order, right? So we did episode 1 on day 1, so on and so forth. And people were like, "Oh, you didn't touch on Janice being able to take her car and park it in the hood and da 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 da." That ain't of no concern to me. And this is a Black woman in Harlem raising a boy. You know what I mean? And
Right.
she was linked to who Diddy's dad was said to be. You got to have that level of, he's gone, but I'm still here, because that's just how you have to survive in
For
spaces like that.
sure.
I fault Janice not for surviving. I fought her
Right.
for creating a menace. I fought her for
Yeah.
protecting a menace. You know what I mean? And yes, everything is in her name. Some, you could say, listen, my son is a menace, I'm going to pay you off. That would admit guilt on on Diddy's part. But that's being a mom, that's being a human, that's be a good human being, right? It's saying, let's do right over the riches. Let's
Let me
do
also tell
right.
you something. As a lawyer, as a Black lady lawyer, because I don't like go into the courtroom and not be Black. I code switch, yes. But like we'll have that one Black juror, and sometimes I'll say something and I look over and like, girl, you know what I'm talking about. Like if it were me and it was my case and we are looking for the funds to compensate my client after verdict, I would bring up the whole everything is in Janice's name situation and then try to slide in the fact that he done slapped his mama. Because the slapping of the mama is how you know that's a fraudulent transfer, okay? Because if mama
Because their
really
mamas is
controlled that money,
crazy.
if mama really controlled that money, she would have had some boxing. Everybody would have jumped him at the same time. Mama would have looked at everybody and said, y'all see what I see? Pow, 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 pow. That's how that would have went. Come on, do it
That's
with me, guys.
exactly how.
You know,
That's us
how we
jumping Diddy.
know. That's how we know Janice ain't running nothing. He has so much financial control over her. He could slap her in her face and she still say good morning.
Because she knows where it comes from.
Right.
We're going to touch on Kirk in a little bit, but in short, right? According to Kirk, they ran up in there, Diddy and the security, with a bet. Now, even though he's lost his suit to get his 20, is there any legal pathway to him recovering his shares?
No. Statute of limitations. So I want to be clear to the audience. He lost on a procedural technicality, not on the merits, meaning a court of law has never seen or proven the facts of his case. He simply waited too late to bring the case. And that's common. That's a strategy that men like Diddy use, is they try to make you feel like they drag out the time for them to do right by you. And or they'll give you little carrots and dangle. Well, see, man, I was thinking of coming up with this new division, and I was going to have you head it up. And then when that 4-year statute of limitation goes, and you're like, okay, you know, and he stops answering your phone, and you finally get you a lawyer that'll take it. Blah blah blah. It's too late. That's what's going on here. Now, one thing I was surprised with, he made some implications that Diddy may have fondled his dingleberries.
Yes, he did. At the 7 minutes to the end. Like, hello.
I wanted to hear more about the dingleberries.
Me too.
Now,
respectfully to his trial.
That is the part that he could have used to get him back up in the statute of limitations, in the same way that Cassie did and other employees could have. He could have gone up underneath employee law, which is how, remember guys, that's how Cassie got paid so fast. Now, Tisa Tales and what's the other lady? What's her name? Tasha K will tell you, I don't know what I'm talking about. Insurance never paid a thing, but they've also never seen the interior of a law school. So there's that. And we also know Tasha K owes people $5 million. So there's that. So do what you want with that. But the truth is, Cassie got her money because of all the people that sued. She was the only one that was able to trigger sexual harassment violations, potential violations, and just the potential for that claim triggered and made in play the employment law insurance. Now, him dragging her through the hotel or the freak offs, that's not covered by insurance. Duh, stupid. But the employment law component of it could be covered by that. And that's how come that insurance company swooped up in there, said, oh no, we not finna have no jury look at none of this. We gonna catch, here go my gavel, here go my gavel. Okay. We gonna give her the money. So that's what Kirk should have did. Kirk should have tried to go straight over to the same law firm, Wigdor, that represented Cassie, and get his little coins up because nobody wants to say dingleberry fondled in the job,
Not at
especially if
all.
you're straight.
Well,
Especially.
my thing was we waited to the last 7 minutes, and what I assumed, right? I don't know Kirk. I ain't talked to him. I got to clarify because y'all like to be like, you don't know. I don't. But it seems as though he kind of took whatever legal representation that he could afford or that was
Yeah,
accessible to him, right? Like
that is
even
100%.
even though Cassie also has a horrible story, Cassie's proximity and the things of that nature put her at a point where she could have access, and then
So,
even
so
her
true.
new relationship,
And I
Um,
can say, just from being a lawyer, Cassie would have access to a whole different. They would believe her. Kurt, looking like he looks different. And I'm saying he's not a bad looking man. I'm
mm-mm,
just saying you can't walk a Kirk straight up into them white people's law firm. That's just the truth. You would
exactly.
need a Simone to then pick up the phone and call one of my colleagues from Cornell Law and say, wait a minute, now I've got this story for you. I know it sounds crazy. Here's what
Hmm.
it is. I fact checked. Would you like to be my co-counsel? Because I also have to stay on the team for those kind of cases because they don't be understanding my class. Sometimes I literally have to speak us to them so that we can curate a strategic story that makes sense for the jury and the legal team. That's
Is
what
that
Kirk
why
did.
Diddy's legal team needed 8 lawyers?
And 8 lawyers that look like the Noah's Ark of American culture. Yes. Baby, by the end of that, one of them lawyers, Nicole Westmoreland, came to court, honey, in a bust down. Okay. She had a bust down that went to the top of her buttocks. That is how Noah's Ark of culture that legal team was. I mean, they had a little bit of everything because they wanted to contrast to what they called a six-pack of white women, which was
Hmm.
the prosecution's six-pack, who couldn't relate. Like, it's certain stuff I'm sure in those meetings. So they had two blacks on Diddy's legal team. They had
Hmm.
Xavier, good looking guy, looked like a real handsome peanut M&M. And then they had he does. And he's tall, y'all. He's tall. That's Mary Man. I'm not trying to talk about that Mary Man like that, but I am trying to give you guys a visual. Milk Dud. He's about 6'4", 6'5". And then you have Miss Westmoreland with her bust down. Now she didn't start with the bust down. She
No.
graduated to the bust and the down.
Just for the comments clarification, Kirk is the former
Kirk Burroughs, not
in
Franklin.
yes, employee of Bad Boys, said to be the co-founder of Bad Boys, who owned
Yes,
25% until Diddy and his security came into the office with a bat and said, if one more label try to stop me, it's gonna be some dreadhead niggas in your lobby.
correct.
I want to pivot over to the victims of it all
Yes,
because this is at the end of the day where the meat and the potatoes are. This man is a monster, and not because of his crimes against culture, but because of his crimes towards women. Um, I want you, in legal terms, to clarify what an affidavit is and how
right.
Aubrey found out about her alleged SA in the documentary. For those, again, who did not watch, Aubrey O'Day, former member of Danity Kane, found out in a legal document that she may have been drugged and then taken advantage of sexually. And again, I say may have been because Aubrey says in the documentary that she can neither confirm or deny because she has no memory of it.
This is correct. And what's also interesting is I think Choppa from the band
Hmm.
told a story, if I'm correct, of him walking in on no, that was allegedly Sarah. It wasn't Aubrey, but being in an intimate position with Diddy as well. I'm going to put that to the side because that was different. So, an affidavit is a signed document that someone signs and says, "Hey, I am saying this happened under penalty of perjury." Meaning, if you find I'm lying, you can take this to court and literally have me charged for perjury. I have raised my right hand. I have sworn to the truth of these facts. So, what happened is more than likely um, someone related to the Diddy camp saw and witnessed that. They put it in an affidavit and then submitted it to Aubrey's lawyer. The significance of that is whereas Cheryl in the chat is talking about how for the New York Survivor statute, it opened a window that then closed shortly after Cassie had filed her lawsuit back in 2023. That is true.
Okay.
However, This affidavit, one of the things potentially it could do for Aubrey is reopen the statute of limitations window, because the statute of limitations has something called the discovery rule. The discovery rule means, hey, even if the regular statute of limitations has expired, if someone has done something to you, especially committed a crime against you, and you don't discover it until a certain day, that window will reopen from the day you discovered it on. So if the statute of limitations, for example, for civil crimes in most states is 2 years. So if it's 2 years, it will start from the day she got the affidavit. That's the power.
That's now, does that then open the door for somebody like a Kirk Burrows to then jump in as well and say, or does he have to have his own?
He would have to have his own affidavit about something that happened to him that he had not previously discovered. The problem is what he's already discovered all the things, and that happened a long time ago. But what Kirk attempted to do was he tried to refile his case once he learned that everything was in Mama Janice's name, claiming, I just discovered she's the one that has my stock, therefore the window should reopen. The court said it doesn't matter who has your stock today. What matters is when you knew your stock was taken from you. So it's kind of like if someone stole your car 10 years ago, but now you're finding out that Beyonce has your car. You don't get to, now that you see Beyonce has it, you don't get to now sue Beyonce. You should have sued whoever took your car 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
That makes a ton of sense. And to your point, I was nodding when you were talking about Choppa, because these stories are in excess. There are just so many women with these stories. And I likened him to R. Kelly when I was doing the recaps, because this is a narrative that we've seen played out, not just in the music industry, the Harvey Weinsteins, the Matt Lauers. When you are a cash cow for a billion-dollar, million-dollar entity, Diddy was the cash cow for Clive Davis, R. Kelly was the cash cow for every fucking body, and so on and so forth. Harvey Weinstein had Kill Bill. He's got all of these movies, Meryl Streep under his wing. They tend to turn a blind eye. So when it came to Capricorn, again, the women and the victims in these stories, Capricorn Clark was Diddy's assistant. She worked for Diddy from 2004 until 2012, when he abruptly fired her because Diddy found out that Capricorn knew about Cassie and Kid Cudi. We'll go into what happened there in just a second. But my question is, personally or legally, however you want to answer it, where is the line between, like, I have to be at the table and I have to have a seat at the table in order to be able to tell people what's going on at the table, and hey, you should have rang the bell a long time ago, so now you're an enabler?
It just depends on how stupid the judging person is. I think it is very dumb when people say you shouldn't even sit at the table. Some of those people feel that way about Jay-Z being whatever he is with the NFL. Girl, if you don't shut up, boy, if you don't shut up, how are we going to eat if they won't listen to us when we say we're starving? It just doesn't, that doesn't make sense to me. But also, you have to understand the power dynamic. Now, I will say, when I was in the courtroom, guys, so if you're new from Elle's channel, you may not know, I was in the courtroom daily. I went to law school in New York. I practiced. I was actually the first attorney to sue R. Kelly civilly for what he did to my client who was a victim that later turned into his criminal stuff. So I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. With the Diddy stuff, and when I want to say, as far as Capricorn Clark goes as a human, I wanted to just give her a big fat hug. I believe her words, but I will say the prosecution did a horrible, horrible job at bringing her testimony to life, at making it relatable, at making it believable. If it's not relatable, it's not believable. It wasn't Capricorn who wasn't doing that. It was like, for example, when I saw her on the stand, she would start answering a question and then start crying. And I was like, I want to cry. Give me something to cry about. Tell me. But it was like, I didn't understand enough backstory of what she was going through to even
Mm-hmm.
feel bad for her. So, for example, I have my lawyer hat on, but I got enough sense to know, these people on this jury they work at the deli. One of them was a
Yes.
scientist. They work at Amazon. They're normal people. And they're having difficulty understanding why you're calling something that happened on a Friday and you show back up to work a Monday. I know, but I know why you did that because
Yes.
number
You
one, it's
have to make
Diddy.
them know.
Because number two, you have to make the jury know, right? And also what the prosecution, and I'm saying this to say, I believe Capricorn's testimony did not land well with the jury because the jury is taking their context and applying it to these facts, not the context of the music industry. And for
Mm-hmm.
example, at no point did the prosecution help the jury understand that in the music industry, kid you not, at that point, there's only like 3 people you can work for back then,
Yeah.
like three major companies. There's Diddy, there's Clive Davis, and there's like, 1 or 2 others, right? So when you piss one off, you got to find a new industry. She has no college degree. She don't even have parents. Her mom was a crackhead who died of an OD. Her dad, something similar. It
Yeah.
was just her. So that was a story where I'm like, if you build it up, the jury
There's
should
some
be
there.
crying when she's crying. If you've done a good job, the jury should cry at least some of the times. Otherwise, it's like, is she acting? Is she this? I was perplexed.
And
Mm.
even the standpoint of the recall, right? Like if this happened so long ago and if it was so traumatic, how can you remember it? There was no link to the jury to understand this is traumatic. Thus I remember it. Or
Right. Because I was
how.
going to die, because it was my last day in the industry, because
Yes.
you never forget when your hopes and dreams die in front of your face. You got to say stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Because you have to make them connect. Even the gentleman, I really detested both of the jury members that were in that documentary, but the gentleman, right? There is a cultural divide here as well, right?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, in his culture, women issues are women issues and men issues are men issues. And because men, again, generally speaking, aren't forced to have to deal in the minutia of it all, in the gray of it all, they are able to maneuver a space where they see black and white like that. If you don't
Mhm.
like it, just leave. That's not reality, but it's their reality. And so that's what is applied when you were saying, again, is this legal? Is this illegal? Is this right? Is this wrong? You use your own real life experiences, you
Right.
use your own moral baseline to determine these things. And so if you don't make somebody understand something outside of their culture, they're going to view it through the lens of their culture.
Right. And then the whole, if you didn't like it, just leave. That's where they should have tied it to. Y'all, this pissed me off. So for those people out there who were saying the judge was biased against Diddy, that ain't what I saw. Uh, they tried to link it to if why she couldn't just simply leave, which
Mhm.
was Diddy fires her from all that. So then she has an interview with what is it? She gets an interview. I think it was Clive Davis. It was one of those head honchos. She's so excited. It is to be like a similar role to him that she was to Diddy, only for her to go in there and him to say, I heard you're suing Diddy. I heard you're suing him. You need to drop that or something bad's going to happen. You need to drop that. The judge said, um, no, Diddy's legal team objected. And the judge not just said sustain means we agree with your objection. The judge said you must strike that from the record, which means it has to be deleted from the transcript. It means that when the jury goes to deliberate, they can't even see those words on a piece of paper. What now?
Mhm.
What now? How do you get that communicated? Okay. Now, so as a result, there was no way to show, hey, here's why I was so desperate, dumb dumb. Is
Right.
because they took away every opportunity for me to just leave. What I mean, I guess she could sit next to you and work in the Amazon factory. Nothing is wrong with that. It's a nice, healthy living. However,
when you
We
was
all
just the
know you.
global brand manager for
Right. What do they tell?
Sean
What do they tell
Combs.
brown people? What do they tell brown people when we want to go get a hardworking job like that? Take care of our family. You're overqualified. You're
Mhm.
overqualified. Put it in the chat. Let me know below if you've ever been told you're overqualified. When you're like, okay, I left a toxic work environment. I want to go somewhere else to do. So I say that to say, in the end, I always say the person who tells the better story wins. That's just how legal
Wins.
cases work. Diddy's legal team told a better story in a lot of regards simply because they won some serious major objections that prevented the true story from coming out, including this was very important. I don't know if y'all knew this. So Capricorn ended up having to sue him for unpaid wages. It was something crazy. Like she was owed like $300,000 because he was not paying her required overtime, this, that, and the third, right? But after lawyers'
Which is
fees
a
and
common
it
thread
was
for him.
yes. After lawyers' fees and all those things, it was a much lower amount. Well, here's the issue. The issue was that every time the prosecution tried to get in the true dollar amount she settled for, Diddy's legal team blocked it. That is directly relevant. Trying to say it wasn't relevant. Yes, the hell it was.
It
It's
is.
relevant to explain why today she can't simply live on that settlement. If the component in her pocket, let's say, was 60,000, that's not even a one whole year's salary. And now she's been blacklisted from the music industry for life. That is directly relevant, but it
Yes.
goes to the ability of the prosecution to tell that story.
I want to touch on two things in the comment. So this is Cheryl Lee is saying the streets say that Capricorn played the same role for Combs that Ghislaine Maxwell played for Epstein. So this was my original question. Where is that line in you all's opinion versus she
Mm,
has to be there in order to tell the story, in order to ring the alarm, right? I have to
well,
stay and I have to get evidence. I think about it. And again, you're invited to think about it however you choose, but I think about it as an undercover detective, right? You
okay.
go in, you see some things on day 2, right? You could leave, you could make a case, but you ain't met the big guy, you ain't met the head honcho, you don't know where the things are stored. There's a bigger story there. You can stay and have more information. Do I think that Capricorn's goal was to ring the alarm at the end of it all? No. And that's where it gets a little iffy for me. You
Yes.
stayed to what end? Right now, again, if she had sat there and said, listen, I saw some things, I said, oh, never again. It was my plan to get to a level or status of XYZ. I was going to work for da 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 da. And then I was going to send that elevator back down. And on that elevator was going to have the ticking time bomb. Right. Okay, cool. We're only getting this story from you because you got fired after he found out about Kid Cudi, leaving me to believe that had the Kid Cudi incident not gone wrong, or had he changed his mind and said, hey, no, you're not fired, you would still be there.
She
You
would.
would still be
100%.
orchestrating. You would still be keeping these secrets.
That is true.
That's where my sympathy for her starts to teeter.
Wayne. Yeah.
I do think, though, in the comments they were saying she has a disabled child. That also makes the case there.
And
Where else
I
is
don't
you
know if
going
that
to get
child
a
came
job?
about till later. I'm not sure how old the child is now, but yeah.
But to your earlier points, there's no college degree. There's no where these skills aren't wildly transferable, right? There's only, to your point, 3 people you can work for, so you can only take these things. But so far, who is she going to go work for? Rachel Zoe, like Neiman Marcus,
Right.
like Macy's, like where was she? There weren't a lot of places that were going to bring her. And again, you can't even
Agreed.
like cultural brands because Diddy had his hand on those. So she couldn't take her Sean John experience as the global manager there and transfer it to a FUBU,
Yeah.
whatever.
I
Like,
mean, yeah.
what you gonna do?
Yeah. She hasn't enough. And I hope now she can get to her dream job or something closer to that. Yes, she was absolutely in the documentary. She was in the
She seemed
documentary.
to have been good at it. To be able to make the move in 4 years from assistant to manager. And so, for those of you who didn't watch or don't know, she said in the documentary that her global manager position pretty much was she managed Diddy on all levels, right? So you've
Yeah.
got Diddy, who's got Sean John, who's got Bad Boy, who's got the
Mhm.
perfume, who's got making the band, who got Who Wants to Be My Assistant.
Mhm.
She's managing all of that, starting off as an assistant.
Yeah.
She's got talent. There's that's undeniable.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go forward in that? And then my question for her would be like, would you ever want to be that close to somebody
Yeah.
again? You've seen how dangerous it is to now harbor these secrets. Are you interested? I want to talk about the dirty money of it all, right? The goop.
Literally. Okay.
Literally. I keep calling her Klarna because like it's free 99 to be a girl's girl. My goodness. But Kalina from Making the Band, as well as Dawn from Making the Band. I'll start and you can tell me your assessment. I always thought from the moment Dirty Money came out as a group, I said that girl Dawn is on something. She didn't look like that. We've
Like
had
drugs.
the advantage. Yes, we've
Mm.
had the advantage of seeing her for seasons after seasons. You can assume where her baseline is, where her normal
Okay.
is. Of course, it's television. We don't know her. She didn't look the same, right? She looked like something was off. According to Aubrey O'Day, she signed the NDA, which is why we don't see Dawn talk at all about it. And that NDA, I believe she said was like $5,500, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote
Yeah.
me on the number, but
Because
it was
and the
something.
truth is that NDA could be set aside and it could be blah blah blah. But do you even want to have to fight, like hire your own lawyer to fight that? No. Netflix should have hired her a lawyer that says, look, this that could evaluate and be like, this NDA, if they sue you for it, like we'll rep you, because you can't make me sign an NDA under financial duress. And secondly, hey guys, remember, NDAs don't protect crimes. So she could get up there and talk about him locking her in a car. She could get up there and talk about if he hit her in any capacity, and ain't no NDA cover those things.
Not at all. My question was, did you notice how Kalina had, like, when Diddy calls her to say Dawn filed the lawsuit, she got on her chest like she had something to know she didn't. Like,
that, because I saw it as though Kalina felt. Now, Kalina is the other girl that was in Dirty Money. I never knew her name to this day. I didn't know her name until Don's lawsuit came out. Actually, I thought she was the girl Elle, American Boy. I don't know.
No, I thought you was gonna say the girl from the reality show with Tammy Rivera and Eva Marcel, the British girl. She got the book and she left. I thought
Oh
she was
yes,
her for a
yes,
minute.
yes, yes. So I said to say, I felt like Kalina felt like, oh, cool. Don flipped on him. Now he gonna need me, and now I can get this money I need from him. That's all. It sounded like she was an opportunist. But Kalina, that's why he didn't help you and he didn't give you no money for your lawyer. So, not a girl's girl.
We gave her no money first. How do you not give me You're Diddy. We are on the documentary 5
Because
days
she wasn't
before
letting
you
him play with her dingle hole, and she didn't have no the dingleberries. She don't have them, so that's number one. She's not a boy. This is my opinion. This is not law.
This is not law.
Not the law.
He just deposited millions in the bank. He just told us on the documentary you couldn't help her with $5,000, but then you've got the unmitigated gall to pick up your phone and say, let me call somebody who just needed my help, and I didn't help them, but asked them for help while still not providing the help that they need. And this moron,
And then you steady sitting up there talking to him, dumb.
That's my brother. The tears on the documentary were wild, ma'am. Do you know this is being recorded?
Your brother hates you.
He hates
Your brother hates
women.
you. Your brother wants CPS to take your kids, or your baby daddy, whatever one, your ex-husband. I don't know. But I also, one thing I don't be understanding, I don't know if it's lawyers that perhaps are not explaining this to their clients, but for her to say, I didn't want to be involved in this because I was worried it would cause me to lose my children. Girl, are you stupid or are you dumb? What part of me being a victim of sexual harassment on the job or anything else on the job has anything to do with your qualities of a mother? Not only that, me as a lawyer, I wish it would. I wish your ex-husband would try and say, oh, she let her boss abuse her 10 years ago, so she shouldn't get these kids. I'm going to show you what you're going to get. You're going to get a 1-2 punch in this courtroom. I'm going to look at the judge, and the judge is going to look at your husband and see he doesn't have a soul and say, Your Honor, these kids don't need to be over here with this man because he don't have a soul or a conscience, okay?
At
And he's
all.
just using these kids and my pain and my trauma. Take him to hell.
Express train and like what is them, the bullet trains? Put them on a bullet train,
Bullet train.
please.
That doesn't make, I think Kalina was using, I feel like in part it was either an excuse or she don't know no better. But there is no version of a child custody case. Now, unless there's a large component where perhaps you were doing substances, illegal substances with Diddy. But none of what was going on there was going there. And even then, that was 10 years ago, girl. That was 10 years ago.
This the one right here. Thank you. This the one. That's the comment of the day. That's the one. This man is a monster. I want to end off at the final. Spend the last 20 minutes here. Is there a case for murder for hire here?
So it sounds like they've got some good facts, but it also sounds like a lot of the evidence is gone just because of the passage of time. Most importantly, y'all, in the documentary, they referenced that Diddy said he would pay whatever to get rid of Pac. And so they said he wanted Pac and Suge Knight. They said they was in the game, so they wanted $1 million. Well, because only Pac was unalived, he said, I'm only going to pay $500,000. He paid it to this guy with some big old ashy lips. I don't remember that man's name, but ashy lip man allegedly received the money and then was supposed to distribute it to the rest of the Crips that were engaged in that, that executed this. But ashy lip man has passed away.
Yes.
And never gave the others the money. So now that would be an out for Diddy because they're not able to tie that money to him. They would have to find a way to do that, or at least tie it from Diddy to Ashy Lip Man.
So that was, I went to law school on YouTube, so don't count my.
No, it's fine.
But when I was listening to it, I was like, this sounds like a lot of he said, she said, right? Like, because these people can't talk. So Zip, for those who didn't watch, Zip is an alleged criminal gang member from Harlem. Okay. He made the connection to Diddy and the Crips in LA and Vegas, West Coast Crips, right? Okay.
Yes.
So he is the facilitator. He is the person who was distributing the money. He passed away from cancer some time ago. And then the two alleged shooters. So the boy
alleged, you're right,
Tupac got into the fight with after the match.
Yes.
Orlando something. And then his uncle. Both of them are no longer with us. So
no, the uncle is still there. The uncle is the one that is currently.
Uncle's still here. Sorry. Okay. Zip and Orlando are gone. So you got the uncle talking about what Zip said and what Orlando did and this person.
And he is currently on trial for Tupac's unaliving in Las Vegas. Currently.
Yes. Keefy D. There we go.
There you go.
So many names. Okay.
So many.
Then there was I'm going to get back to the murder for hire. I just want to take a minute. Usher's mother, Lil Bow Wow's mother, Justin Bieber's mother. There are probably more. Them is the 3 that I know of. What the fuck possesses you? There's nothing that my kid wants to do that bad. And I love you, Simone. Okay. My kid say, oh, I want to be a lawyer. My kid cannot come live with you.
Exactly. Don't bring them over here, girl. Don't. Because I don't got kids right now because CPS would have been a call, ring my doorbell. They can't even ring my doorbell. My doorbell's broke.
I don't understand what possesses you to leave these people. And I want to say like grown men, but just people who are not your like immediate trusted family. That makes no sense to me. Somebody also asked in the comments if Usher got money from P. Diddy and all of that. My assumption would be after that first album, Usher leaves. He's no longer there. That's when he goes to LaFace. That's when we get the My Way album and the escalator in the middle of the steps. if the career was booming where he was, I don't feel like we would have made the migration. So again, I feel like there's some there, but in the pop culture of it all, there's so many stories that came out of his time with Diddy that we don't know what's true and what's not.
Very true.
Back to somebody says here, hold on. Okay, look at y'all. This is why I love y'all
Okay.
so much in the comments. Eric Zip Martin, often referred to simply as Zip, was a Harlem figure with long-standing ties to the secret world and kept connections in the music industry. He also went on to like own a club in New York and all of that. So he was heavily into the nightlife of it all. What I found very interesting as it pertains to Tupac and Biggie specifically was the innate talent, right?
Yeah.
Tupac never seemed to have to try. Tupac was also
Yeah.
one of those actors who just seamlessly moved on over into the acting world. And there was no question about it, right? It wasn't
Right.
like,
Right.
and I am a Beehive member, but it was not Beyonce and Obsessed. Like, you know what I mean? You came in
Mhm.
my house. You touched my child. No, he was he was good from the beginning. Also, keeping in mind at the time of Tupac's unaliving, he was supposed to be Tyrese's character in Baby Boy. So he was very established. Biggie the same way. Biggie was an amazing storyteller. You could live,
Yes.
people live lives like Biggie all the time. They can't turn around and tell a story the way that Biggie can. We saw in the
Yeah.
documentary, we saw it with our eyes. When Lil Rod said it took Diddy 8 months, or excuse me, 7 months to put down 8 bars. Okay. And then you heard Mark
Yeah.
Curry, you heard Mark Curry say that Diddy in the studio gave Eazy-E in the beginning. He couldn't get the timing, he couldn't get the rapping of it all.
That's consistent with his son, Diddy's son, the slow one. I think that would be Christian. The slow one,
It
Christian.
is.
He's like the
King
same. It's
Kong.
almost like you just hand Christian the script and you say, "But read these words off the piece of paper." Like back in the day when you used to just go on Yahoo and print out song lyrics and say the words. That's what continue.
Every step I take, every move I make.
So darn bad. So darn
It was
bad.
it was so bad. And we also have to, like, as a generation, we also have to publicly say Diddy was not a good dancer. That man wasn't dancing. He was moving
Can we
around.
also just I need a moment of silence for when he did the tribute to Biggie. Okay. And Sting is on the stage, I think at the MTV Awards or the Grammy Awards, whatever, it was American Music Awards. And he comes out doing the dancing / praise dancing in
Mhm.
all white. Watching it now in the context of what I learned in that documentary, it was the most arrogant, disgusting display. Diddy turned Biggie's death into being all about him. And that was really sickening, guys. Just to see him,
Even
he came out all,
embellished their friendship. That was my best
yeah.
friend, my da 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 da. And survey says you gotta
He was dancing like a church mom, like a church mom.
like that. You remember that SNL skit when Michelle Obama was there and they were putting the food in the cart and they were like, "Do the mom?" She had on the mom jeans.
That's what Diddy looked like. It was terrible. Who approved this? That's how you know this man is so powerful that even when the idiots see you're being an idiot, they're scared to say, "Hey, this looks stupid, real bad."
Real bad.
Uh-uh.
And this is what I was going to say. Biggie, the estate of Biggie Smalls has come out to say that Biggie Smalls' estate did not pay for the funeral, that Diddy paid for it, and there was no reimbursement. Okay. I took that to be them lawyers that Diddy hired. So when it comes to Biggie's estate, the only people that I have ever listened to was Biggie's mother, God rest her
That's
soul,
right.
and Faith Evans. Okay. Now,
Yes.
again, I played this on
Wait, wait,
another
wait. I'm
live.
confused with how you said that. Is Biggie's estate saying yes, it was paid for, or no, it was not?
No, it was not.
That's what I thought. That's what I
They
thought.
said it was not. I don't believe that, right? Faith Evans did not tell me that. Faith Evans has been telling us a lot about this estate if you've ever just paid attention. When Faith Evans and Stevie J, who I would love to hear his side of the story, I have a whole tinfoil hat moment that Stevie J and Faith Evans got married just to begin part of the Diddy takedown, but they needed the what happened
Legitimization?
of the
Legitimization?
marriage and to be able to like have yeah. But
Mm.
anyway, Faith Evans did an interview. She did two. One was on Wendy Williams. You can go look it up. And the other one was with like a magazine. They sat down. It was a brown couch. You can
Okay.
go look it up.
Okay.
She said that the estate knows who killed Biggie Smalls and that LAPD knows who killed Biggie Smalls. And then there is some issues there as to payroll and who can say what.
Mm.
But according to Faith Evans, they know.
Okay. Mm.
Right. That was at the beginning of her and Stevie J's marriage. So I would love to hear from Stevie J. We have not heard from him since Diddy's home was raided, and then he posted that ominous picture on his stories, like he was on a road somewhere. That was the last time that we've heard from him. So I don't know, obviously, where this goes.
Mm.
I do know
Well,
that based on you do tell
no,
me.
I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish, girl.
I was just gonna say, I know based on what I've seen, we need to find legal reason to keep him locked down. He need not never be free.
So here's what I want you guys to watch out for, look for, and this is where I anticipate we're gonna start seeing some bombshells. I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna liken this to the Bill Cosby case. There's two closing kind of concepts. With Bill Cosby, a lot of people don't realize the way the way Bill Cosby ended up going to jail was because the prior prosecutor for Philly said, "Hey, Bill, we are not going to criminally charge you for whatever you've done to these ladies." When they did that, it forced him to testify in his deposition for one of the civil cases, for a civil case against a particular woman. Why? Because you cannot plead the fifth when the prosecutor says, "We're not charging you." Okay. Or if a prosecutor has already charged you and you have beat the case and the case is over. Here's what that means for Diddy going forward. For the most part, he has to sit for depositions in each and every one of these civil cases that are coming down the pipe. He's going to have to sit there and testify, and he can't do no, "I plead the fifth." Why? He's already been criminally charged. He's already been sentenced. Or the statute of limitations have passed where he cannot be criminally charged for these. So it's going to be interesting to hear him, because now they can get him for perjury. He can get got for perjury. So he's going to have to, hypothetically, in all 77 of the currently pending cases, he will have to testify if they go to trial. So it's going to be interesting to see either two things will happen. What comes out from those, or that's when they put so much money on the table that it will encourage the victim to just take the money and run so that he never does have to sit and testify. Make sense, y'all? That's why y'all watch over here.
Somebody said in the comments that I was capping. Ain't no cap in my rap. So that Faith Evans interview, you can go look it up on YouTube. She was on Wendy Williams, and she was there to promote her new album that Stevie J was the producer on. So there's that. Somebody says there was so much not mentioned. Faith married. I don't think that we'll ever get this full story of what happened. Also, just keeping in mind that we are talking about young 20-something-year-olds, right? So the illegal stuff, for sure. Wrong, bad, don't do that. Great. But some of the like, what would you do at 21, 22 out in the streets with more money than you could count? You know what I mean? Most people would be a menace. They would sow their wild oats, so that also has to be kept in mind. This is heavy. And I just pray that again we find a reason to keep that diddler and that baby oil loving diddler in jail. At this point, I don't even care what the reason to keep him in there because his name is Diddy. I don't know. Find a legal route for that.
But I also want to say this was a final point I wanted to make. I want to be very clear with you guys. The law says you are only supposed to be on trial for the thing that you are being accused of. But let's be very clear. The American justice system, especially the federal system, when you anger them white folks upstairs, them white folks in charge of things, what they do is they will structure and create a legal case to prosecute you, not just for what you're being indicted for, but for all the stuff you got away with. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why he was charged with RICO, why he was charged with S trafficking, why there were charges on the table for things that could have sent him away for life. Because the truth of the matter is that if that CNN video with him stomping out Cassie had not been leaked, and all these people across America calling the district attorney of LA's office to say, you guys have to imprison this man. And California had to say, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do because the California statute has expired. That is what got the federal officers, the federal district U.S. Attorney's Office involved to construct the case that we saw this year, because they said he's gotten away with too much. Y'all think about it. They do it with the mob all the time. They say, all right, the mob got all these people and we can't get them on the hook for that. So we're going to do wire fraud, this, that, and we're going to tag it up so that the amount of time that they do get for what we're able to prove in this here courtroom is justice for all the stuff they got away with.
All of the other stuff.
Let me know in the chat below. Do you think that that's fair?
It's definitely media orchestrated, right? And it's definitely they are banking on it playing out in the court of public law and public opinion as well. Seeing some of the things confirmed, right? Again, it just, even like the R. Kelly of it all, it takes the fun out of some of the music. It's like, yeah, for me, it's great when you hear it when you go out, but you just can't like just put it on as easily in your bag, at least for me, right? Like as easily as you can. The thing that did it for me as it pertains to R. Kelly was in the Surviving R. Kelly doc, part 1. Part 2, I think, was a mess, but part 1, the girl said, you know how every abuser has their form of a trophy? R. Kelly's was his music. My favorite R. Kelly album was the 12 Play album. You can't fucking hear a woman say that. And she, in the song, she named which one was about her, allegedly, right? You can't hear that and then go play I Feel So, like it don't hit the same no more. It doesn't hit the same, and that is tragic because these people are talented. I don't think Diddy's talent was ever on the line. He can't rap, you know what I'm saying, but he can put together a song. He can give you the energy, even what he did with Ciroc. He's got that talent, so you can't take that from him, but it does make it like a little sickening. Tell the people where they can find you, what you got, all of that.
All right, guys. So follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Attorney Simone Redwine, and my YouTube channel is called Girl, Is That Legal? On YouTube. So check me out. We're gonna have more coverage this week. We are going to be covering, of course, Todd and Candy's divorce. It's gonna get ugly, honey. Ugly. And we've got more this week. Also, if you're watching from my page, drop below what other topics you want to hear me cover this week. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I like the drop below. I am Elle. You can follow me at Briefed by Elle over on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Threads. You can follow me here on Women for the Culture. I have a brand new show coming out January 2026 called The Women's Room. The guests are already lining up. Simone doesn't know, but she'll be back. Of course. We've got Michelle Williams of Destiny's Child currently on Broadway. She will be one of the guests. We have some other people that we are in conversation with. So this is going to be a great space. To me, when I think about the women's room, when I go to the bathroom, when I'm out, that is just a safe space. I'm with the girls. I'm cackling. We having a good time. And, you know, everything is safe in that space. So that is what the women's room is about. If you are a boy, you can come and watch, but not too much because this is for the girls.
girl.
So you can follow me here on Women for the Culture, or again at Brief by Elle. Brief by Elle, child, we talk about current events, we talk about television shows, all things go over there. Over here on Women for the Culture, we talk about the women who are shaping and shifting the culture. So there is that. Elle, you are a whole grown man. You can, I mean, excuse me, Marcus, you are a whole grown man. You can come, just not too much when you come. Because again, it's for the girls. You in the girls' room, you in the ladies'
Marcus
room
is
now.
a trip. Marcus love being in that trolling up in the comments. Love you, Marcus.
Thank you guys for being here. My comments are always open. Again, if there is something that you want to chat about, if there is a show that you want to chat about, let me know and we'll get to it. Bye, guys.
Bye.